Yo, what's going on, everybody? This is kind of like the first of many kind of casual game chats. We don't really have a name for it. If you can think of a good name, throw it down below. We'll just call this Pubcast right now.
PubChat.
PubChat. Pubbin.
Pub. I feel like there's some alternative meanings. We should really be careful where we go with this.
This is all part of a new style of branding for the channel where we're kind of just more being Bad Publicity Gaming, just hanging out, talking about gaming content. Some days we may stream some games. Some days we may be just talking about games, different topics, expansions. Obviously, you can, still expect Marvel coverage, but we kind of just getting the band back together here, the original trio, and kicking it from there. So, guys, Hollis, Corey, what has been up? Oh, jeez, Hollis, let's start with you, man. You've been, haven't had enough screen time lately, probably, right? So, what have you been playing? What have you been up to?
Well, so first of all, I just died just now in the first moment I tried to speak. That's how long it's been. Is I forgot how to speak.
Well done.
But trying to survive here, I've been good. I've been just like a lot of other people, right? Keeping my head down, trying to take care of myself during this crazy pandemic when everyone's kind of stuck inside, or they should be. And just, still trying to make sure that I'm keeping myself safe, my family safe, my friends and loved ones are trying to be careful and take care of themselves. Beyond that, it's just been a lot of personal gaming, like a sort of personal gaming adventure. So I find myself going into a lot of single player games that have been on my backlog more recently, as well as what I call comfort games. They're usually games that I can play, that I can have something on the side, like in the background while I watch a movie or something. So as far as things on my backlog, I finished Persona 5 Royal semi-recently. I started another game called Trails of Cold Steel. As you can tell from that, I'm a pretty big RPG guy. But as my comfort game, I've been playing Civ 6. I just love 4X games. I'm a fan of it. I like the strategy involved with being hold on, 2 more production if I simply, I love that stuff. It's just so fun.
How does your main game feel about your side game?
Well, here's the thing. Main game doesn't know about side game, and we're going to keep it that way. You understand me, Jameson? Yeah. We're going to keep it that way.
Did you get caught up in the Cyberpunk adventures, the fiasco?
I did. I made a mistake, and I was really into it. I got really into it. Listen, first of all, the reason why you're bringing this up is because of the shirt. Okay, let's talk about the hoodie. Okay. But the thing is, I got really caught up. I got really caught up into the hype of it, and it's because prior to the game releasing, it did look like, as it always does, right? And what was going to be an amazing title. So I pre-ordered it like a dummy, and I paid for it, and then I paid for it. You see what I'm saying? So here I am, waiting patiently until another couple months when they release enough patches to make the game, I think, in what I say more playable state. I would call a more playable state.
It's when they finish the game. When they actually finish the game they wanted to release.
When they release the game at the time they should have released it effectively, right? So yeah. I put even though I purchased it and I have been patiently waiting for more patches, I've decided I'll probably just let Cyberpunk sit probably till close to the end of the year. By then they'll have enough patches to the game, and likely they'll start adding some of that free DLC they were talking about. So I think and quality of life fixes. So I think by the end of the year it'll actually be a game I really want to play. Until then, really not so much. I'm just kind of letting that sit.
Purchased on what?
I am playing on PC. So I'm usually a PC gamer, and my computer's not the newest thing, but it's pretty good. I feel like it'd probably look better than if I tried to play it on my PS4, obviously. Don't have a PS5 or the new Xbox. So yeah, PC it is.
That's that. Corey, what's been on your game radar right now, or not game radar? What's currently in rotation for you?
Oh geez. So a few things. So for board gaming wise, Kanban EV is a pretty heavy like Euro style board game. It's been a lot of fun. Praga Kaput Regni, which is a Euro board game. Do a lot of board gaming when I get the chance. Usually play a lot on TTS. Sometimes I'm lucky you get like a couple people with like small like meetups and stuff like that. That's been a lot of fun. I've also just been hobbying for like Warhammer stuff. So like Age of Sigmar, 40K. I run a D&D game Monday nights that's been like getting into, we're doing Descent of Avernus right now, and we're about a month into the campaign. So that's been solid. And then just like random computer gaming stuff on the side, playing a lot of Runeterra, super hyped for the new expansion coming out in March. And then every now and then when I have a block of time free where nothing else is taking it up, I will log in to continue my conquest in Crusader Kings 3 to destroy my brother-in-law's entire bloodline from the face of the planet. So
wow, that's deep, man.
Yeah, it sounds personal, man.
The dude came into my court with the Black Plague and infected like everybody around him. So like it was like my character's son's goal to seek vengeance for such a stupid thing to do. So that game's great. It's just the storyline. It seriously is honestly one of the best role-playing games because you really get into like the family and the characters, and you can do some real. And it's just the way it creates the stories. It's just really fun.
Crazy.
So yeah, that's kind of been my thing.
That's all right. Sounds like you got a lot on your plate there, man. Though. Bouncing
yeah, man. It is a lot bouncing around from thing to thing, but it's a good problem to have. I'm okay with it.
Nice.
What about you? Yeah. What have you been up to?
Thanks for asking, sir. So I myself, I've kind of been a little all over the spectrum a bit. I picked up, just kind of check, I picked up Aquatica. Haven't got a chance to play it yet, though. Running through the rules before I game it up with the wife. And
my wife.
Yeah, my wife. Other than that, me and like the whole family have been playing this legacy game for kids called Zombie Kids. It's kind of really fun. Very basic mechanism. The kids grasped it pretty good off the bat because it's very simple, but then they're very excited to, like, after so many battles, wins or losses, you just open an envelope and the game kind of changes. It's getting a little bit convoluted now, like, because my kids are only 5. Once they start introducing powers and you have to kind of have more of a strategy on when to use your power. And now, like, I don't want to, for anyone out there, I highly recommend it as a great family game, but you just got to have the patience to explain and just play for the fun of it, for the kids rather than the whole win-loss record and stuff. But it's just really, really neat. Love it. Been playing that, mostly just trying to finish that campaign. Then on the other side of things, I did get caught up in the Cyberpunk stuff. I did it through Stadia. I'm a Stadia gamer. I like the concept of it. I like the fact I don't have to buy the console. It's if you don't have Stadia, it's free. Just buy the game that you want and then play it. So you don't need to pay monthly if you don't want to pay monthly. If you pay monthly, they give you free games, or not free because you're paying the membership. But it's working out for me. Being that whole dad stage, right? I'm able to just kind of grab a game, play wherever I want on any platform. Some days I don't win the battle for the TV, right? So I can play a certain game on my phone. I can play it on a laptop, and it kind of is, working out for me. Obviously, then I'm in and so I'm in the same best as you, Hollis. I did pick it up. I went through it. I had a good time with it, but it's to the stage now where I don't know if I would ever do a game like this again. I'm very kind of I got caught up in the hype, but I don't want to play a game where it's like, go here and do this mission, go and do this mission, go and do this, and there's like that whole main quest line, and then you're like, if you're like me, who is like this mini completionist, I'm like, oh, there's a side quest here, I gotta do it. Oh, there's a side quest here, I gotta do it. And then I come back to like the second quest or the second piece of the storyline, and because I've done so many side quests, I've got so many weapons, I'm all puffed up, and it's just like, this is the big boss at the time, and I'm like, boom, done. All right, like the side, like the main storyline, if you branch out too heavy and spiderweb, you're just too super strong too quick, right? Like there's no level cap that stops you from getting past where the main story should be. So I don't know if that if I kind of wrecked the experience for myself by actually playing the game. But I think it's been cool. But it definitely didn't live up to the hype of anything. And I don't know if I go down that road again. Jedi Fallen Order, on the other hand, is amazing. I just recently played through that again. Love it. On the other side of things, like we're heavy into Runeterra, excited for that stuff. And then other than that, I kind of just been picking up, every once in a while those 10-minute mobile phone kind of games, right? Like still dabble in Clash Royale, Clash of Clans. And strangely enough, I finally buckled and got Call of Duty mobile. If you play on your phone with a controller, they put you in a whole different group. So I've been playing just with the phone kind of overlay things. Oh my God. It's such a weird experience playing Call of Duty, trying to like turn with just my thumb and stuff on the screen rather than have a controller in hand. But it's weird playing all of those old like Modern Warfare maps all over again. Like, so it's like Modern Warfare 2 maps. I'm like, oh yeah, Rust, what, Nuketown, let's go. So I've been kind of enjoying those old school pieces like that. So that's kind of where I've been sitting from a current stuff. And obviously, now we're kind of been having these meetups on Wednesdays, and we're playing some more online board games, right? Like we've been heavily testing apps and finding some cool experiences, and we've been all playing Root digitally. And if you don't have Root from Steam or online from Direwolf, I highly recommend it. The game's an amazing ported game, and I think it's only going to get better and go through. And it's really fun experience. It handles multiplayer very, very well. The three of us have been playing against an AI, the last couple weeks. And it's just been so much fun to be able to play games like across the I don't know why we never thought about this before, but just we've already been locked down for like a year, and we're just like, hey, we can play games with each other over the internet. So we're kind of just getting into that. I think it was schedules and stuff played a part, but that's kind of where I've been sitting. Hollis, what's on your radar though, man? Like, what are you looking forward to?
Well, the more recent things I'm excited about actually happen to be some. I feel like I'm going backwards in time when it comes to like the things I'm trying to check out. Like I mentioned before, I have games on a backlog, right?
Yeah.
Well, some of the things I'm looking forward to are games on that backlog. They're things that I knew would be a game for me, but so many other great things have been released that have been newer. For example, like Final Fantasy VII Remake. I started it for a second, and I still never. I got so distracted by all these other titles that I also wanted to play. I never actually played it and finished it. Like I never finished it. So I'm excited to go back because the game looks gorgeous.
Did you ever play the original?
So no.
Oh.
I know what happens, but like this is what's insane. At this point in my life, I have.
Okay, everybody. I just called them out right here.
It's fine. So. I'll take that all day. I didn't play a Final Fantasy game until 8, and then after that, I think I skipped 9, played 10. I pretty much played all the online ones, right? Then I played 12, went back, played 6, and then I never went back to 7.
You skipped 9?
Yeah, I skipped 9, which and I know people that's their favorite one, but I skipped 9. 8's my favorite. I love it.
You didn't play 7 and you skipped 9.
I did. Why is 6 afraid of 7? Let me tell you why.
Yeah.
Because Hollis skipped 9.
Whew.
I skipped 9. Sorry, guy. I'm sorry to disappoint. So but at this point, 7 is such an iconic Final Fantasy game, right? Like it's one of, if you have to pick like the big 3, right, in that entire franchise, 7 is probably the number 1 of a lot of people's lists for a lot of people. And so I get the plot of 7. At this point, it's pretty much basically been spoiled, for me. But I'm interested as someone that hasn't played it. I'm very interested in now seeing what the reimagining of the game kind of is, the new look and how beautiful the character models are and things like that. The last one here. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was gonna say. So really, are you really that intrigued? Are you really that like? I have to play this game. Corey, you played 7 then?
Yes, okay. I've played 7 pretty much twice because I got to disc 2 and my memory card got wiped and I had to replay it again. Some of you kids don't know about the memory card wipe incidents, but that was a struggle back in the day. Yeah. So yes, I played through 7.
So here, let me ask you this then, like, guys, to tangent off of that point, because it wouldn't be a bad publicity talk without a good tangent. Throw the script out the window. Nostalgia, right? I always am let down by nostalgia. And I know I just said it, right? Like, but I feel like it's almost a little different. Because I said I'm just playing the old Call of Duty maps are now like I can play it on my phone. I can just go in, bang, 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 bang. Thing. But I will say this from a perspective of I am not a first-person shooter very enthusiast. I got in first-person shooters later in life. I played Doom and Wolfenstein, but then never did any of the other kind of stuff because I just felt like I was, I tried Halo one time and was just like every time I spawned, it's like someone would kill me, and I'm like, this is not fun for me. But my friend was like, you got to play Call of Duty with us. You go, yeah, we're all doing it, get in here. And I bought it, and I just had to, it took me a while to get good at the game. I'm using the controllers, and I know that's a whole big discussion about, keyboards and mouse over controllers on consoles, but I'm not going to tangent there. So, but I just found the learning curve for me was is what it was. So I like knowing the maps and playing the old ones, but where I'm going with this is nostalgia always lets me down, and going backwards in like a movie, if someone's like, oh, you didn't watch Nightmare on Elm Street, go back and watch it. It's a classic. I watch it, and then because you're watching it now and you're expecting so much storytelling, graphics, everything was better now compared to what it was. Like that was state of the art then. It's not now. Like you see the fishing line holding up things and whatever, right? Like you can tell what's poor CGI. But right now there's so many, even fresh off BlizzCon, they're like, Blizzard is notorious right now for just repackaging their games, right? Diablo 2 redone. I'm like, I lived Diablo 2. That was my jam back then, but I'm not excited to go pick it up just because you redid the graphics. I show me Diablo 4, show me something new, move on. Don't sell me the same old stuff and just change the label.
Yeah, it's like the joke of like Skyrim being re-released so many times that there was a person who did the thing where it was like your refrigerator that had Skyrim uploaded on it, and so it's like, I get it. It was a fun game. I played it. I played a lot of it. It was a blast. Like I don't need it for every device I own.
But are you guys being caught up in that, like remastered games or stuff? Or are you only doing it because you missed the experience then and you're like, oh, everybody said this was good, I got to go back and play it now? And then when you go back and play it, then you're like let down because it wasn't as good as you were hyped up to be, right? Like,
well, in a weird way,
I'll let you go first, Hollis.
Sorry, man. Apologies. No, in a weird way, I would say that I get caught up in it absolutely. Like, for example, when the Final Fantasy VIII remaster came in with improved the character models, I knew, I mean, this is straight honesty, I knew that I wasn't going to replay it anytime soon, but I loved that game so much as my introduction into that franchise, and the characters I enjoyed so much that I was like, I want to support this remake of this thing that I very much cherish. In a weird way, it's almost like, and this is sort of like a knock to Blizzard, I think, when I say this, all they really had to do to get me to buy it again was just not make it worse than it was, than when I, as a product, than when I played it before, right? That's pretty much all that they had to do, is just not make it worse. They didn't really even need to add anything extra. I think that most of the time, if you have a game that you cherish, right, and you really, really connected with and you really liked it, you're not against looking at it again from a different angle as a remake or as a remaster or what have you. But I also think that sometimes the problem with that, sometimes the problem with the remakes is that because the truth is you can tell when it's they're milking that franchise, right? When they're just trying to get the most money out of it. If I don't detect any legitimate, I guess, real improvement to me, and I guess that's why it's subjective, right? If I don't see an improvement that justifies the cost, it's a waste, right? Like it just seems like it's an unnecessary remake now to have. But overall, I think it's okay. I kind of like them because I think that for people that really cherish like certain particular titles they're huge fans of, that's who they're going to like really be catered towards, right? Like I don't think they're bringing anyone new. No one's coming in brand new to play, like whatever, like a remake of Final Fantasy VIII, the remaster that hasn't played Final Fantasy VIII. Right, in the way that Final Fantasy VIII was done, but for like Final Fantasy VII, I can see how that brings in definitely new people who have never seen that game before.
Yeah, and I guess I kind of buddy off of that to your question on Jameson. Like, I tend to, if I'm going to do anything remakes, it's usually because I missed out on it on the first time, and it's a way to kind of get an upgraded version of the experience. Maybe I looked over. I don't think I've ever gone back and played any remake of a game that I have played to completion, like in my childhood, because I've had that experience. That experience exists with me. I know I enjoyed it. I had a good time. I don't need to play it again and risk it getting tainted or beat to death. Like, I know that, especially because a lot of them are RPGs, and like I know the story. And sometimes it can be hard for me to play through again when I know exactly what's going to happen. It's like, I know how this progresses. I could be spending this time playing a new story or seeing something new to check out. So that's it. Like my favorite RPG of all time is Chrono Trigger. And Chrono Trigger, of course, was one of those games that would get you to play a bunch of times or find like the different like endings and pathways. I was like, no, this was my story through the game. This is how I experienced it. The ending I got was a fantastic game. That's that.
Yeah, that's going to be like Cyberpunk, right? Like, how many times are you going to want to play through that when it forces you into certain situations, right? They're trying to say like, oh, there's so many diverse storylines, but I feel like that's how I was like, this is the path that I picked. These are the choices that I'm making. I don't really care so much to go back and see what I picked A this time. Oh, let me put another 90 hours in so I can get to a point where I can pick B. No thanks. Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah, it's like recently I just not recently but probably like middle of last year I picked up, because I missed it on the first go around, they did on sale, Detroit Become Human, and that's one of those games that has so many different branching pathways and alterations of the story. But I was like, I don't want to play through this and find out all the spoilers. Like, I know what my story was, how the game progressed. I would love to have discussions with other people who have finished the game to find out how their story diverged from mine. But I don't want to play through and then purposely try to go through and like critique every like option, because these are the decisions I made and how my game like turned out. So, yeah.
Yeah, I can't do it from that perspective either. There's obviously games that the only time I think I would buy another game is that if I have one of my favorite games and something happened to the system, right? Like, and I think if it's re-released or something like that, like, I think going back, maybe my generation, maybe some of your generations, right? Like, yeah, you can re-release Mario 1, Mario 3, in some collector Mario pack, but that's like you're getting all of them in like a Mario All-Stars, and maybe some you're like, yeah, like here I go playing Mario again or something like that, right? But I don't usually buy certain things like over and over. Like, my favorite games of all time are BioShock and BioShock Infinite. I love it because they're very immersive story. I love playing through it. I think it was just a phenomenal game. I haven't played BioShock in a long time. I think if they release that for, say, like a platform that I had today, I might be intrigued to get that again. But that's because, maybe like I've forgotten parts of the story, but I would be very hesitant because I think once you're in it, then you're like, oh yeah, this is going to happen. Oh yeah, this is going to happen. So I've never really been a fan of like, oh, it's been re-released or they've slapped new graphics on it, I'm going to buy this. Let's go to the other medium. I am the same way. And it kind of, I kind of get irked when I drop $50 on a board game or something like that, or, it's really good. And then they redo it. Like now it's like here's the anniversary edition, I'm like, this has only been out for 5 years. I'm like, why are you making a new version of this game? And now all expansions are only compatible with this version here. I'm like, that kind of stuff really irks me a little bit. So I'm not a fan of rebuying things I have. If there's a reason, if the system is flawed, if it's good, if there's something else, maybe try and get rid of the copy that you have and get it again. But again, very little. I mean, if the game was successful in its current state, I usually won't go above and beyond to get another one. Like you can see Terraforming Mars up there, right? Everyone says, oh, the art is garbage and all that stuff. Like I didn't go into buying all of that Kickstarter for all the fancy components and all of the stuff, or if they did a Terraforming Mars, actual board game 2.0, not the card game, not the dice game, not any other probably stuff that's coming. But if they did like a Terraforming Mars 2.0 or a collector's edition or an anniversary print, I'm probably not going to get it. I'm like, I'll play the game as it is. So what about you guys? Are you guys chasing, new versions of board games? Do you have, Corey, all 4 versions of Twilight Imperium, right? Like,
I just have the 4th. It's funny you say this though, because I have been caught in one of these situations. So one of my probably top 10 favorite board games is Power Grid. And Power Grid had its original edition. I used to have, there you go. I used to have a buddy in our play group who had it. And then finally I was like, well, I want to buy my own version of Power Grid because I moved to another area. And then they were like, oh, we have the deluxe version of Power Grid. I was like, oh, sweet. I'll buy that. Thinking that they're going to release more stuff for deluxe. Turns out the company did not release anything else for deluxe. And then deluxe was not designed to technically be compatible with the old stuff. So I couldn't even use the old maps because of some design differences. So then I was bummed. But then the company, instead of deciding, oh, hey, you know what, our bad, we should do everything for deluxe. No, they release another edition called Recharged, where they tweak and balance things again, and then start re-releasing everything with the Recharge tag compatibility. So they just gave a big middle finger to the poor bastards who bought the deluxe version of the game, because it's you pretty much get this one box, and it's it doesn't work with really anything else without player-based adjustments and things like that. So I was burned on that a little bit. So I totally see the argument of be careful when you do new editions of games. But yeah, as far as I did jump in to the new edition of Castles of Mad King Ludwig, the Kickstarter that just wrapped up. But that's because the original game had been out of print. And so it was a way for me who'd never owned it, I really love the game, to get my own copy of it, and then to get one that's super nice, all the expansions included, all the bells and whistles. So.
Yeah. And I think the one thing to be weary of there too is I think nowadays, again, the expectations for a game are so high, and people learn, and their mechanics, the mechanics of board games have increased, right? 80s roll and move. Right now it's there's so many different things, worker placement, deck building, goes on and on and on for different mechanics. So sometimes
I think so. So I think everybody who paid to get that new version of Hero Quest is going to realize this fact.
there you
So,
go. Yeah. Right. So like you could go back, sometimes, in board gaming, just because someone says this is a golden oldie does not mean it's going to hold weight in now day and age. You're fighting that nostalgia factor, right? So you can get a game that was awesome and then it gets reprinted and then people, I think, go to play it and then they're like, why is this not doing as well? Why is nobody talking about this game? And it's like, because you already have this version out here and it was a moment in time. It came out, there was nothing else stacked against it. It was so popular, but now you're fighting in a space where, I don't know, hundreds, thousands games come out a month. You're fighting for that piece of the pie, and you just basically, put a new box on an old game, right? So sometimes you got to be very wary about all of these redos and reprints and stuff on both sides, board games, video games.
And I mean, what? Honestly, this conversation about nostalgia like makes me think about also like you made a good point there, Jameson. Like it a lot of times the magic is basically being captured because it's a moment in time. Like it kind of all blends. It's uniquely enough, and in our case, it might be like Netrunner, right? Where like something about the game is so attractive to your interests and tastes that it just sticks with you. Like specifically, actually, and I think it's something we actually thought about talking about tonight. Like piggybacking from that, what is like describe like I guess to you the magic, if you will, that brings you to want to play a game. Like what to you makes like Jameson like makes you really excited and makes you want to stick with it, whether it's a video game, board game, card game, whatever.
Corey, you want that first?
I can jump in if you're not ready.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm good. Okay. So for me, there's usually like, I think like three things that typically will get me to invest into a game. It's an interesting theme or concept. So it's either like a setting I'm familiar with or a setting that looks cool, unique, stands out, whatever. The game itself looks fun, right? The components and interactions look sweet. And does this game have a community, or do I see the potential for this game having a community? Because at the end of the day, you want to have people to play games with. So am I going to invest or get something where people are going to be interested? So sometimes you'll like chat up and see, or you'll do some research on like, are events being hosted? What's their support for the game? What types of events and things do they run? So that's it if you're getting into something new that has a little bit more of like a competitive or like person versus type thing. If it's something simpler, maybe like just board games in general, it's usually just like really unique mechanics and a really cool theme that usually will like draw you. Sometimes it's designers. The designer will carry weight. If you're familiar with like work that they've done and you like games by them, that sometimes will also be like a trigger. Like, hey, I'll check this out. I've liked a few other games you've done. So that's usually what'll draw me into a game and get me interested. You ready, Jameson? You're up.
So I have a bunch of different caveats. This is really it's not a very binary answer for me. I can say that if we're talking about board games, what draws me in is the whole factor of, will I be able to play this game? I am not very much of a board game soloist, so I won't buy a board game to play by myself. If I want to play by myself, I have mobile, I have the video games or stuff like that. No matter how good that game is, you could have the best game in the world, but will it translate to majority of my gaming? I'm gonna say like 75% of the time, it's got to be a theme and weighted so that me and my wife can play it, or I can play it with family. So my perspective of things have very much changed from that. So like I said, I will not grab a an amazing game if I can't get play out of it. If I'm not buying it to collect it, I need to be able to have my wife play it. I need to be able to take it to like the family's house, for after a Sunday dinner, play a game, whatever. I need to be able to have a game that is weighted for my kids, and it has to be their complexity or a little higher, or they can grow into it. I don't buy like I'm not buying like a Haba game just because they're 5 and it says 5 and this game will be good for a year and then we'll toss it, right? Like my kids, I try and challenge them. I'll tweak gaming rules so that we can play a game that's maybe a little more complex. But I know that I can keep that in my collection longer. So from that perspective, that's kind of what I'm looking for there. From video games and other things, it's theme, games that I love. Again, it will depend on the game. Obviously, a game like Runeterra, we love because I love talking to you guys. There's a community behind it. My friends are involved in it. I love I love that social aspect of the game.
It's getting so excited.
Yeah, I love that social aspect that I can do it. But I mean, I have games like Clash Royale that I don't think I know anybody other than people that still play it that I can just pick up, bang it out. So it keeps me interested for that 10, 20 minutes that I have, where I have that free moment on a lunch break or something like that and can pitch it off. But very much theme, and I think I am done with physical gaming at a competitive level, 1-to-1 in person. Yeah, that was big, right? Especially coming from our history, coming from the amount of time. But the only caveat is that if my kids pick it up, I'm not forcing it on them. I'm not doing that kind of stuff. But I don't think by the time they grow up, they will be such a thing as 1-to-1. If you're not building your game competitively in an electronic, easy to cast spread format, especially if this pandemic was any kind of indication of where you need to be in gaming, have a physical copy, have an electronic version so your game can stay alive and not just we're shutting down tournaments until it clears. I don't see myself with my family going to be like, yeah, I'm going to head off to the States to, Minnesota for a whole weekend to play this game competitive and drop a bunch of cash and come home with a mouse pad. I don't see myself doing that, even though how good the community is or how good how many of my friends are playing it from around the world can get there. I don't think that I can time sync it in to play competitively without an electronic version of the game. That's why Runeterra has been amazing and fits my style so perfectly. Easy to get into, free to play. Obviously, I'm not chasing rares. I'm not chasing all of this other stuff. I'm not dropping amount of money. I can just pull a game up when I want. And I know Netrunner had that with the various versions of online, but I mean, they weren't officially supported, so it was like community based, and I was always feeling like these could shut down at any time, right? Like, and the amount of manual stuff, like this is obviously professionally done. Again, I don't want to knock the work that went into building Jinteki and .net and all of those other unofficial clients, because the guys poured heart and soul into building an ecosystem there. But it did have its nuances of how interactions, right? Like something new was into the game mechanically, and these guys had to figure out how to turn it into a format that it was not supposed to be in. But Runeterra and even Hearthstone, if you still play Hearthstone, it's like that is all baked into the game professionally from a design level. They're creating it for that format. So I don't know. Does that kind of answer where I'm taking and what it takes to get into a game nowadays? It's bite size. Cyberpunk has probably been the biggest story style game that I've tried to play through for a long time. I need something. I sit down, Runeterra. I can play a game, put it down. Mobile, I can pick it up, put it down. Board game, an hour, hour and a half with the wife or something like that, put it away. I can't do the long commitments anymore.
Yeah, and I want to add to something actually both of you said, and I find this funny because I feel like between the two of you, between the two of your answers or your entire answers, there's this unique marriage I have found where I feel like I actually agree. I'm not on the same page as Jameson in regards to like some of the restrictions, like because of family related activities that like and allow it for everyone to be included. And also you have to consider, like you said, you want to challenge, your own kids with games that are even above the recommended, right? But because it gives you more shelf life, but also it's going to like increase the likelihood that they get more engaged in gaming as a hobby, right? Instead of approaching gaming as like, oh, this is too difficult for them, it's like, hold on, let's get a game I think is challenging. If the rules seem like it's a bit hard to digest, we'll simplify them. I mean, the point is just to have fun, and I think that's the essence, right? It's always initially like a number one fun factor, and you get that from either, like in Corey's case, right, as an example, you get that from the theme, right, where it's basically how the thematic nature of the game, whether is it cyberpunk, is it a pirate ship, those kinds of like that can be like the thing that like makes you really interested in the game, but it can also be the mechanics, it can be the complexity. I know that, like, speaking personally, I find myself always kind of gravitating towards puzzle type games, and I've always been that way. Whether it's an RPG and I'm breaking the hell out of that system, right? Or it's a 4X game where I'm again breaking the hell out of that system, or a card game where I'm trying to break the hell out of that system. Like, I mean, effectively, you see what I'm going here. Like,
you meant like those old school point and click adventures too. Like, no, like walk to door, open door. What do you mean you can't open the door?
Well, I have to feed the cat the apple pie.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, I mean, I think that's a huge part of it, but I think I also think that the community is for me the second hugest like aspect of it. Like, if fun is one piece of it, I love having a community to play, and it's exactly what you said, Jameson. I want to know that there are people to play this game with. Like if I love this as a hobby, I want to know that it's not going to be so difficult for me to find people to, try it out and to share the same love and interest. And even when I look back at Netrunner as an example, I think that was the clearest example of that. I liked Netrunner as a game for how much fun I had first. And after that, I liked it for the community. And at some point, uniquely, the community aspect overtook even playing for me. That became to me, I got more fun out of going to events and talking to people about the game, or just talking about the game, period, versus ever sitting down and playing. That's not to say I didn't enjoy it. It's just one overtook the other. Without it, I don't think I would have stuck with it. And when I talked about the perfect marriage, I think it led to the final thing I thought about, which was ultimately sort of the convenience. Like you mentioned a moment ago, you said you probably won't ever play another physical card game. And I think we're going to jump into that a bit more in a minute. But yeah, I mean, there's an aspect to that about the convenience level. When you mentioned Runeterra is kind of built from the ground up to allow me to sit on my phone or sit in front of my computer and play this game with other people. The community sort of built around that convenient aspect of it. Just in the card game space, that's convenience. I don't think I can get from Netrunner, because events are in person. There's, the online clients, like you said, are fan run, or online events in those clients are fan run. They're not officially supported. So, it's great to help enrich your love of the game and help build the community. But the problem is that the merger of, the support from the company itself, and showing that with the love of the community that's not a marriage that's happening there, and that's disappointing. It kind of, a piece of that kind of removes an aspect of the game for me. Sorry, I mean, I know I kind of talked a lot there, but yeah, so I was kind of melding all these things together.
Corey, you have anything to add on that piece?
So I will kind of pull a piece out where you were talking about, like some games, need to have like a digital element, or, how they're designed now in order to foster and have a good competitive scene. The one bit of pushback I would give, and probably the only type of games I think moving forward will probably look to do like a more competitive aspect, would be things like miniature games. Because the miniature game community like thrives on that in-person play. Now, granted, there's been like some really good development in like tabletop simulator leagues and stuff like that for a lot of these games. But I think those communities, because of all the hobbying aspect and the fact that you have to be a pretty dedicated like individual to get into those games to begin with, those players are want to get out and play. Those communities, I think, are going to see like a big boom whenever you're able to get back together and play again. I think those will be fine and probably see growth because of maybe like all the extra hobby time people have had. People have been able to invest, critique, get so much information as they build and adjust like their lists and their armies and learn about the game. I think my favorite right now, so as I mentioned like earlier in the cast or whatever, that like I've been getting back into like a lot of Warhammer stuff. But I think my favorite miniatures game I've been playing is Marvel Crisis Protocol. And I came from like a really competitive War Machine background originally. So I played these very highly competitive for like a long period of time. I'm not necessarily looking to get to that level again, but to have those options and stuff like that is fun. So that's probably what I would see myself doing. I'm interested in like trying to get more involved with Runeterra, but time sometimes, and also there's only so long I can stare at a computer screen unless I'm stuck in like a 4X game. I'm
that's the beauty
fighting for revenge.
That's the beauty of, I think that again, that's the style of game. You just made me think of how to classify a game like Runeterra is I can put it down. I don't have to play for like a month, 2 months, and I can pick it up and I can easily catch back up very easily, like get back into something, right? Like I am not out of date of the card pool. I am not out of date of, the mechanics, the play styles. Like maybe if you overlapped an expansion, but again, Runeterra being so easy to just accumulate that cards back up again, you don't feel like all of a sudden I have to buy back into a game. So it's very interesting from that point how they've done that you can just kind of like put it here, life goes on, I've got time again, I can play it again, right? So
their gauntlet system
for me too,
right? And their gauntlet system is also a really interesting way to allow players who can't just sit and grind and play all day every day. You can just get a couple decks you enjoy playing and spike the gauntlet and qualify for the seasonal. So it's just having these different ways for the different play styles that people have is another thing I like really appreciate about that game, and why it's good to always have around and to play when I'm able to. And it's just another game in like the long list. I do feel like there's a lot of gaming options available, and it can be, as long as it's saturated. I mean, we kind of hit the golden age of board games probably 3-4 years ago. And now like more and more companies have sprouted up. You're getting stuff released all the time. Kickstarter's booming. There's so many products out there competing for your time and attention. Do your research.
I know we're pressing on with this episode, and we might have to bump some of the stuff to the next one. But I just want to say too, is what I'm thinking of. What I'd love to see more is, and I don't know how you guys feel about it because I know you're not at the same stage as me. But is an easier entry level to some gaming electronically for kids that are my children's age. I like certain board games where I've just said like that challenges them to push up, because board games don't have that clock. I can put a board game in front of my kids and they can think about it. They see a decision, right? Like we're not in that whole roll move anymore, right? Like board gaming has evolved to where we're playing games where they're forced to make decisions, and that's challenging them. Challenging them in the electronic format is really, really difficult. When I grew up, we had good games, or you know, I classify them as good games, but they're nostalgia games now, right? But I had a Nintendo, or I had an Atari, and you had a stick and one button, right? And you had Nintendo. Like, I think I got a Nintendo, and I don't know if I was as young as them when that NES came out. I don't know if I was 8 or something by the time I was able to get one. But you had two, start, select, A, B, right? Like, that was it, right? Like, all I had to do was jump and run or do something and fire, right? Like, it was very easy for a young kid to get in when he's got two. I don't know if you guys have been around young kids, but if you've ever seen them, like, now, even holding a controller these days, when there's like, a zillion buttons on these new age controllers, right? Like, not only do you have to have all of the buttons, you got D-pads, the analog sticks click in for like R3 and R4. You got sometimes 2 triggers on the top. You got a crap load of buttons. Like, and
they're not light. They're not usually like light compared to what like old controllers used to weigh.
Like, I've played games where even I'm like, what do they want me to do? Where's the A button? Okay. All right. I'm good. Like, it takes me a bit for me to realize, okay, this is the shoot. All right, let's go. This is this, right? Unless the game is like one of those incredibly boringly long, I have to play this tutorial, through it. But yeah, exactly, Alice, right? Like, what am I doing here, right? But I can't play a good I give the controller to my kids and they'll walk around in a level of Jedi, and swing a lightsaber and think it's the coolest thing ever. But I mean, they're just trying to hold this controller and mash some buttons, and it's very difficult to I think get them into something like I had at my age, or around their age, like a Mario or something. I don't know if even it's been a while since I've had a Nintendo. Like, I don't have a Switch, so I don't know if Nintendo has gotten better with their buttons, but I know as things were progressing from what I remember, like, you went to Super Nintendo and they added like X and Y and some other things. Then all of a sudden Nintendo 64, and you had this weird kind of, you're holding whatever you want to describe that as, and use the stick.
Whoa.
And then they went and simplified it again with the Wii, but then you had this Wii nunchuck, right? Like, so like, you're going on. So anything past the Wii, I don't know about, right? So it kind of went up, back down, and I don't know if the Switch has gotten better. Maybe that'll be comments in like, yeah, get your kid a Switch and they can get into it and stuff like that. But to answer that question now, I don't want to buy the Switch, because as soon as I buy it, Nintendo will have Switch 2 or whatever their next thing is, and I'll be like, damn it, now I got to buy this new platform. So maybe when they come out with that new platform, I'll get that for my kids. But as of right now, just the learning curve to get them into this, and any kid that does, maybe their hand-eye coordination is going to be super extreme because they can, they're getting exposure right now, but I don't know, man.
Yeah, you almost wish the Kinect would have caught on, because there's no buttons. You are the controller, so the kid can just flail around or do things, and he will be doing something in the game. So maybe that was like the best one for like younger kids, because they didn't have to worry about like holding or doing anything. They were just able to interact with the game. But yeah, we're past that. It didn't last very long.
That I don't know. I'll say that's my gripe right now, is how to get them into something like that. But I don't know.
Yeah, my gripe is when a video game is like 190 hours of gameplay, and I'm like, who the hell has time for this? Give me like a good like story I can play through in like a day or two, man. I got a job. Like, what are you doing? Yeah. So,
but do you think that's them trying to balance bang for the buck? Like, they want you to feel like you're getting your money's worth, or people?
I guess so, but I feel like I'm never going to be able to finish this game. What's the point? Yeah. So,
once again, I'm going to add like a little marriage between some things we've talked about.
It's good. He's always bringing us together, Hollis. It's the unity candidate.
He's blue.
I mean, I like this. We talked about nostalgia earlier, right? And if you take a look at this, there's something unique about. I'm just going to use this for me. Like there's something unique to me about sort of like board games. I'll say board games and video games. But actually, they're similar in this regard. Right now, Jameson, I feel like you could buy like a board game, for your kids, and whatever age range, it doesn't matter. And as they get older, sure, they may make the newest edition or whatever. But that board game is still freaking playable, right? You're still going to be able to like crack that bad boy open, right? Open it up, set it up. They could be 10, 15. And you could be like, hey, today we're playing Seafall or whatever the game is, right? You can't.
Why would that be the game? Why would that be?
Yeah, you're right though. It would be a huge waste of time. But it's like you can pick out a game that's probably like we'll use Power Grid. You can pick out Power Grid, and Power Grid is regardless of whatever edition you pretty much choose from for the most part. There's a good chance that as they continue to get older, when they come back to that game, they're going to be able to say, "Hold on, new strat, figured it out." New plan, figured it out. And in general, for board games, I feel like there's always like, because a lot of them have like cards or have dice rolls, and that makes the game effectively unpredictable and random, to some degree, and which means that every time you play, it is a brand new experience. A lot of the nostalgic games, video games we see, often tend to be, remakes, which means that barring like examples like 7, where it's a vast overhaul, right, completely like gorgeous looking thing, a remaster of the game you've already played doesn't necessarily will give you like a lot of flexibility, a lot of new things to make it interesting in a video game. Me playing Final Fantasy VIII Remastered doesn't do it. Nothing about what I'm playing is at all really different, right? Besides the fact that I guess I can conveniently make it go faster, right? But Power Grid is a game that has a sort of like random chance, or other board games have games like with random chance in it. You can always sort of revisit it, get enjoyment out of it, regardless of whatever edition. And I like that aspect about board gaming over digital games, tabletop gaming, even, right? D&D is you are using your imagination. I mean, with the power of your imagination, you can make anything happen, right? And I love that aspect in that side of gaming that I don't think you really get out of the digital side. You get it when the digital side mimics the analog side through tabletop RPGs, but outside of that, you don't really get that often in video games. I don't feel like, not always.
I agree with that point too, and I think that's where
they're just limited in their capabilities.
Yeah, and I think that's where it comes. Like where I was talking about before, that if your favorite game is for a system that is so old or not compatible anymore, right? Like, all of those, most TVs now have an HDMI, and if you got that old Nintendo and you're trying to like hook up to like a coax or something like that, and you're like, where does this go now, right? Like, so, or things break and you can't get another, you can grab a Nintendo these days, but you're probably paying like some stupid collector thing for a cartridge in a game. But a board game is always going to be a board game. You take it off the shelf. This will be a topic for maybe another discussion, but I think that's where people are very weary over that middle ground merger, where it's a board game that's app driven, right? What's going to happen? Like, can I still play this game? Does this game have an infinite lifespan, right? Or is it, as long as, like, what if that app disappears, or what happens to this thing, or what if Android and iOS are not the next thing in 5 years, and then your phone is not capable of running that app anymore, like it doesn't go, it's not that far backwards compatible. Now you better hope that you have kept your tablet from 2020 or nowadays, and then you can still play it later if it holds a charge, right? So I think that's where people are like the leeriness of that longevity of marrying apps to board games. But we can talk about that different episode. But I don't know. Anything else in closing? As Corey, did Corey freeze up for you? He froze up for me, but he's got a great look on his face. He's gonna love it.
He's good. Yeah, great freeze frame.
Oh yeah, so he's frozen for you too. Must
Yeah,
be
he
the
is.
side. Hollis, take us out. Any closing thoughts here? What are you going to be? Anything else you're looking forward to coming, or anything? Final thoughts. Final shouts to the people.
I think what's interesting, just kind of trying to stay in the realm of what we've talked about tonight, is I think what's also interesting is we've seen, and I think Corey will agree with this. His face says he does. I think that we're also seeing now, like the board game space kind of move towards digital. For example, something we've discussed privately, like when we've talked about off air or like offline, is or online, off, whatever, is about, like, for example, Gloomhaven. Like, a lot of us, some of us have played Gloomhaven before, and we really enjoy that as a board game. And we know that there's a digital client, a digital version of the game coming that, as I understand it, is going to have effectively the board game materials, but an official digital version of it. So even if you already have the board game yourself, I imagine the digital version is going to do things like automate parts of the process that are included on the board game, which to some degree, I think, enhances the board game for what it is.
Yeah.
But I can also see the negatives that come with that, like you said, the same concerns. That actually does sound like a topic for an interesting episode. I'm curious. I'm interested to go into them more. That's
right.
cool.
I mean, and it's like for us, where we're saying about what you can buy and what you can't buy. He's gone for sure, and now he's really killed our whole.
Yeah.
Oh man, our whole thing is shot.
It's okay.
Coming frame here. Yeah, I think it just goes to show, like, right, like, even though I own everything for Root, I still bought the board game so I can or the app so I can extend and play with you guys, right? And that's where I get that thing in. But I will say thanks again for joining us for the first kind of pub chat or whatever we call this stuff. I'm Jameson. That's Hollis. Corey's unionized, so we're already off the clock.
He was like, listen, guys, it says I leave at this time. Yeah. I'm leaving.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thanks again for joining us, and apologize for the end. Oh, there, boom, we're back.
There we go.
Oh, Corey, any final thoughts?
Jeez, sorry. It's good you have a discussion about digital and like online and what problems could digital possibly have, and then like my network like craps out. So it's a good example of if you do the hybridization of the fun things you could have sometimes. Yeah. No, I don't have anything else to add. I was pretty much like solid. Everything's wrapped up and good to go.
Perfect.
Hey, thank you for waiting on me. It was very, very kind.
All right, everyone. Let us know your thoughts below. Shout out to comments. Talk about, if you have any questions, we'll collect them, answer them in the next one, and we'll talk to you all later. Thank you.
Good night.